The story opens with Captain Rex standing on the bridge of humanity's largest space station, watching alien ships fill the void around Earth. The Galactic Empire has arrived with an ultimatum that has echoed across 1,000 worlds. Submit or burn. Ambassador Vex, a tall alien with silver skin and cold eyes, delivers the Empire's terms. Earth has 30 days to surrender its weapons, disband its military, and accept Imperial rule. The alternative is complete destruction, just like the Corvin system last year. But Earth is different. Admiral Kane, Earth's top military leader, listens to the demands with a calm that surprises the alien delegation. Dr. Maya, the planet's chief scientist, stands beside him, holding a small device that hums with unknown energy. The Empire has conquered 300 star systems using the same approach. They arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and crush any resistance. Their technology is superior, their fleet's massive, and their will absolute. No species has ever said no and survived. We need time to consider, Admiral Kane tells the aliens. Ambassador Vex agrees, confident that Earth will follow the same pattern as every other world. Fear always wins in the end. But as the alien ships take positions around Earth's solar system, something unexpected happens. Human ships don't flee or hide. Instead, they begin moving into strange formations around the Sun, Jupiter, and the outer planets. The Empire's sensors detect massive energy readings, but they can't identify the source. Dr. Maya activates her device. Across Earth, hidden installations begin to power up. These aren't weapons in any traditional sense. They're something far more dangerous to an empire that depends on control and fear. Tom, a young technician in Antarctica, monitors readings that make no sense to Imperial science. Lisa, working from a base on the moon, coordinates with teams across the solar system. Every human facility is connected, working as one massive machine. The Empire has never encountered anything like this. Their databases contain information about weapons, shields, and defensive systems from countless worlds. But what Earth is building doesn't match any known technology. As the deadline approaches, tension builds throughout the solar system. Imperial Admiral Drax, commanding the invasion fleet, grows increasingly nervous about the energy signatures his ships are detecting. His science officer, a bug-like alien named Crix, reports that Earth's activities are unlike anything in Imperial records. Earth, President Wilson addresses the planet. The message is simple but revolutionary. We will not surrender. We will not flee. We choose a third option. The Empire has always offered only two choices: submit or die. But humanity has spent decades preparing for this moment, developing technology based on principles the Empire has never considered. While other species focused on bigger weapons and stronger shields, humans explored something different. Dr. Maya's team has perfected dimensional manipulation technology, not for weapons or faster travel, but for something the Empire cannot comprehend. Complete isolation. As the 30-day deadline expires, Ambassador Vex returns to Earth, expecting either surrender or a hopeless last stand. Instead, Admiral Kane gives him humanity's answer. We reject both of your options. We choose to leave. The alien delegation laughs. Where could an entire species go that the Empire couldn't follow? Space belongs to them. Every star, every planet, every corner of the galaxy serves their will. But Dr. Maya steps forward with her device, now glowing brightly. Not where, she says, when. Across the solar system, human installations activate simultaneously. The energy readings that have puzzled Imperial sensors suddenly make sense, but far too late. Earth isn't preparing to fight or hide. It's preparing to step outside of time itself. The process begins slowly. Reality around Earth starts to shimmer like heat waves. Imperial ships find their sensors, giving impossible readings. The space around humanity's home system begins to behave according to different rules. Ambassador Vex demands an explanation, but Admiral Kane simply smiles. The Empire rules this universe, he says, so we're making our own. The dimensional barriers start to form. Earth's sun flickers between visible and invisible to Imperial sensors. The planets begin to fade like mirages. Humanity isn't running away or fighting back. They're doing something that has never been attempted on such a scale dot as Part 1 ends. The Empire realizes they face something completely outside their experience. For the first time in their history of conquest, they don't understand what their enemy is doing. The human ships aren't retreating or attacking. They're simply disappearing, taking their entire solar system with them. The stars themselves seem to watch in stunned silence as Earth prepares to close the door on the universe. And lock it from the inside. Admiral Drax stared at his command screen in disbelief. Where Earth's solar system had been moments before, now only empty space remained. Not destroyed, not hidden behind shields, but simply gone as if it had never existed. Report. He barked at his science officer. Crix's compound eyes flickered with confusion. Sir, all readings indicate complete dimensional displacement. The entire Sol system has been removed from our reality. Across the Empire, similar reports flooded in from other sectors. Species that had been monitoring Earth's unusual energy signatures were sending frantic messages. The humans had done something that violated every known law of physics and politics. The imperial capital world of Nexus Prime, Emperor Vox received the news with cold rage. In 3,000 years of conquest, no species had ever escaped the Empire's grasp. Worlds could be destroyed, populations enslaved, but entire star systems could not simply vanish. Find them, he commanded his science council. Nothing can hide from the Empire forever. But Earth wasn't hiding. In their new dimensional pocket, humanity was adapting to their self-imposed exile with typical determination. President Wilson walked through New Geneva, the capital city that now existed in a space between spaces. The sky showed unfamiliar stars, ones that humanity had created through their dimensional technology. Dr. Maya led teams, working around the clock to stabilize their new reality. The process had worked, but maintaining an entire solar system in a separate dimension required constant attention. Every planet, every asteroid, every particle of space dust had been carefully transported. How long can we sustain this? President Wilson asked during their daily briefing. Indefinitely, Dr. Maya replied. We're not fighting physics anymore. We're writing our own. Meanwhile, Tom monitored communications from their old universe. The dimensional barriers were one-way permeable, allowing humanity to observe but not be detected. What they saw was chaos. The Empire had never faced a problem it couldn't solve with force. Admiral Drax was demanding more ships, bigger weapons, advanced sensors. But how do you attack something that doesn't exist in your reality? Other alien species were taking notice. The Corvin survivors, living as refugees after their world's destruction, whispered that maybe resistance was possible after all. The peaceful Delphin traders began quietly questioning Imperial authority for the first time in centuries. Captain Rex, now commanding Earth's dimensional monitoring station, watched Imperial fleets searching desperately through space where Earth once orbited. They were scanning every frequency, probing every dimensional theory their scientists could imagine. They're getting closer, he reported to Admiral Kane. Their new experiments might eventually breach our barriers. But Kane wasn't worried. Humanity had prepared for this possibility. Dr. Maya's team had developed contingency plans that would make the Empire's search even more difficult. Lisa, working from the lunar observation post in their new dimension, activated the next phase of humanity's plan. If the Empire wanted to find them, they would have to work for it. Back in normal space, Imperial sensors began detecting false readings throughout the galaxy. Ghost signatures that looked like Earth appeared and vanished in distant star systems. Phantom energy readings suggested dimensional activity in hundreds of locations. Emperor Vox grew, increasingly frustrated as reports poured in from across the Empire. His fleets were chasing shadows, while the real target remained completely beyond reach. "Sir," Crix reported to Admiral Drax, "we're detecting similar dimensional disturbances in the Andromeda sector and the Outer Rim, and 17 other locations." The truth was that humanity had prepared for centuries. Every reading the Empire detected was a deliberate misdirection, designed to waste their resources and confuse their search patterns. Dr. Maya smiled as she watched the Imperial fleet scatter across the galaxy, chasing false leads. "Let them search," she told her team. "Every ship they send on a wild chase is one less ship terrorizing innocent worlds." The Empire's other subjects began to notice their oppressors' distraction. On conquered worlds throughout the galaxy, rebellion, movements that had been crushed for generations, began to stir. If the mighty Empire couldn't find one missing planet, maybe they weren't as all-powerful as they claimed. President Wilson addressed humanity in their new home. "We didn't just escape," he announced. "We created hope for every species that dreams of freedom." Ambassador Vex, still stranded in normal space after Earth's disappearance, found himself commanding a diplomatic mission to nowhere. His reports to the Emperor grew increasingly desperate. How could he negotiate with people who had left the universe? As Part 2 concludes, the Empire realizes that humanity's escape has created a problem far larger than one missing world. Other species are beginning to question Imperial authority, and the galaxy's most powerful force finds itself chasing ghosts. While their grip on power slowly weakens, the stars watch as the impossible becomes reality, and hope spreads like wildfire through the darkness. 6 months after Earth's disappearance, the Empire faced its first major rebellion in over a century. The Outer Rim colonies had declared independence, inspired by humanity's impossible escape. What started as whispers of hope had become open defiance. General Pike, leader of the rebel coalition, broadcast his message across occupied worlds. "If humans can escape the Empire's grasp, so can we. Freedom is possible." Emperor Vox watched his empire fracture from his throne room on Nexus Prime. Half his fleet was still searching empty space for the missing human world, while the other half struggled to contain growing unrest across dozens of systems. "Your Majesty," his aide, a nervous reptilian creature named Gek, reported, "the Delphin trade worlds have stopped sending tribute. They claim they need to reconsider their position in the Empire." The Emperor's rage shook the palace walls. The Delphins had been model subjects for 500 years. If they were rebelling, the situation was worse than he imagined. In their dimensional sanctuary, humanity watched the chaos unfold with mixed feelings. Tom, now promoted to head of external monitoring, provided daily updates to Earth's leadership. 17 worlds have declared independence this week, he reported to Admiral Kane. The Empire is pulling ships from border sectors to deal with internal rebellions. Dr. Maya had been working on something new. Her latest project would help the rebels, but it required careful consideration. "We could give them a fighting chance," she told President Wilson, "but it means revealing ourselves partially." President Wilson faced a difficult choice. Humanity had escaped to save themselves, but their actions had sparked a galactic revolution. Did they have a responsibility to help? Captain Rex supported Dr. Maya's proposal. "We didn't just run away to hide," he argued. "We ran to give others hope. Now they need more than hope." The decision came when Imperial forces began massacring rebel populations. On the peaceful world of Haven, Admiral Drax ordered the execution of 10,000 civilians to make an example for other would-be rebels. Lisa, monitoring communications from the lunar base, watched the horror unfold. "We have to do something," she pleaded. "These people are dying because of the hope we gave them." President Wilson made the call. "Dr. Maya, proceed with your plan, but carefully. We help them win their freedom, but we stay hidden." Dr. Maya activated her latest creation, dimensional gift packages, small portals that could briefly open in normal space, long enough to deliver advanced technology to rebel forces, then disappear before Imperial sensors could track them. The first package appeared on General Pike's flagship. Inside, he found weapons technology that made Imperial armor look like paper, along with a simple message from the humans who escaped: "Use these well." Similar packages appeared on rebel worlds throughout the galaxy, always when Imperial forces weren't watching, always with technology perfectly suited to each species' needs. The Empire's science teams couldn't understand where the advanced equipment was coming from. Crix, still serving as Admiral Drax's science officer, studied captured rebel weapons with growing confusion. "Sir, this technology doesn't match any known civilization in our databases. The energy patterns are completely foreign." Admiral Drax was losing patience. Then find out who's helping them. But how could they find an enemy that existed outside their reality? Every attempt to trace the weapon deliveries led to empty space. Imperial scientists proposed theories about hidden civilizations, secret rebel alliances, even ancient artifacts coming to life. None came close to the truth. The rebels grew stronger with each mysterious delivery. General Pike's forces began winning battles that should have been impossible. Worlds that had been under Imperial control for centuries suddenly had the means to fight back effectively. On Earth, the debate continued about how much help to provide. Admiral Kane worried about revealing too much. If the Empire figures out these weapons are coming from us, they might find a way to track the dimensional portals. Dr. Maya disagreed. "They're stuck thinking in terms of normal space. As long as we're careful about timing and placement, they'll never solve this puzzle." Tom monitored Imperial communications and found increasing desperation in their messages. Fleet commanders were requesting reinforcements that didn't exist. The Empire was being forced to fight a two-front war, searching for Earth while battling rebellions across the galaxy. President Wilson authorized increased aid, but with strict protocols. Each delivery would be smaller, more targeted, and completely untraceable. As Part 3 ends, the Empire realizes they face an enemy they cannot see, cannot find, and cannot understand. The rebels grow stronger each day, armed with impossible technology from the humans, who defied the galaxy's greatest power. The stars themselves seem to favor the cause of freedom as the Empire's grip on the galaxy begins to slip. 1 year after Earth's vanishing, Emperor Vox stood before his war council with a desperate plan. The rebellion had spread to over 200 worlds, and his forces were losing ground every day. The mysterious weapons appearing in rebel hands had turned what should have been easy suppressions into costly defeats. "We will burn every rebel world to ash," he declared. "If we cannot rule them, no one will." It was the Empire's final strategy. When facing the unthinkable, complete annihilation of any world that dared resist, Admiral Drax had been given permission to use planet-killer weapons, devices so terrible they had only been used 3 times in Imperial history. Dr. Maya detected the preparations immediately. Her dimensional sensors picked up the massive energy signatures of the Empire's ultimate weapons being moved toward rebel territories. "They're going to destroy entire worlds," she told President Wilson urgently. The human leadership faced their greatest moral test. They could remain hidden and safe while billions died, or they could reveal themselves to save innocent lives. The choice would define humanity's legacy forever. Captain Rex spoke for many when he said, "We can't watch genocide and do nothing. That's not who we are." Admiral Kane worried about the risks. If we intervene directly, they'll know we're still alive. They'll never stop hunting us. But Tom had been monitoring communications between Imperial commanders, and what he found changed everything. They already suspect we're involved, he reported. Admiral Drax has been telling his officers that only humans could develop this kind of technology. The decision was made. Earth would reveal itself, but on their own terms. As Imperial planet killer ships moved toward their first target, the rebel world of New Hope, something impossible happened. The space around the Imperial fleet began to shimmer and distort. Then, like a door opening in the void, Earth's solar system materialized directly in their path. Admiral Drax stared at his screens in shock. Earth had returned, but not as a refugee or victim. The human ships that emerged from the dimensional portal were unlike anything in Imperial records. They moved with impossible grace and power, their hulls gleaming with energy that made Imperial sensors scream warnings. "This is Admiral Kane of the Human Defense Force," came the transmission that reached every ship in the Imperial fleet. "You will stand down immediately and withdraw from this system." Emperor Vox, watching from his throne world, felt something he had never experienced: genuine fear. The humans had returned with technology that made his planet killers look primitive. "Destroy them all," he commanded. The battle that followed lasted exactly 17 minutes. The Imperial fleet, pride of the Empire's military might, was systematically disabled without a single human casualty. Not destroyed, but left helpless, floating in space with their weapons offline and their engines dead. Dr. Maya had spent months perfecting non-lethal but devastating weaponry. Human ships fired beams that rewrote the molecular structure of Imperial technology, turning mighty warships into harmless metal shells. How? Admiral Drax whispered as his flagship lost all power. Captain Rex, commanding the lead human vessel, provided the answer. "We had time to think, time to build, and time to become something you never imagined. While you were searching for us, we were preparing for you." The message spread instantly across the galaxy. The Empire's most powerful fleet had been defeated in minutes by the humans who were supposed to be hiding in fear. Every rebel world erupted in celebration, while Imperial loyalists began questioning their allegiance. President Wilson addressed the galaxy from Earth's dimensional sanctuary. "The Empire's reign of terror ends today. We offer protection to any world that chooses freedom, and we promise that tyrants will find no refuge among the stars." Lisa coordinated the massive operation as human ships emerged from dimensional portals throughout the galaxy. They appeared at every world where Imperial forces threatened civilians, always in overwhelming numbers, always with technology that made resistance pointless. But humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their advanced ships or dimensional technology. It was their refusal to become the very thing they fought against. Imperial commanders and crews found themselves treated with dignity, their wounded cared for, their prisoners fed and housed properly. General Pike, leading rebel forces on the ground, couldn't believe reports from his scouts. The humans disabled the entire orbital defense platform without killing anyone? How is that possible? The answer was simple. Humanity had spent their year of exile not just building weapons, but deciding what kind of people they wanted to be. Power without mercy was the Empire's way. Earth chose a different path. As Part 4 concludes, the Empire's military might lies in ruins, but the real victory belongs to the idea that strength can be compassionate. The galaxy watches as humanity demonstrates that the strongest force in the universe isn't fear or hatred, but the courage to be better than your enemies. 5 years after the Empire's fall, Captain Rex walked through the gardens of New Geneva, now the capital of the Galactic Federation. The sky showed the real stars again. As humanity had chosen to return their solar system to normal space, and help build something better than Kun. What they had escaped, the transformation had been remarkable. Where once the Empire ruled through fear, now dozens of species worked together as equals. The great palace on Nexus Prime had been converted into a hospital and school, while Emperor Vox spent his remaining years under house arrest, writing memoirs that few bothered to read. Admiral Kane, now serving as Earth's representative to the Federation Council, reviewed reports from across the galaxy. Former imperial worlds were rebuilding, choosing their own governments, developing their own cultures without the Empire's crushing uniformity. The Delphin trade routes are running smoothly, Tom reported during their morning briefing, and the Corvan refugees have finally found a new homeworld that suits them. Dr. Maya had become something of a legend among the galaxy's scientists. Her dimensional technology was being shared freely, but with careful safeguards. The ability to step outside reality was too dangerous to be used carelessly. We're receiving requests for dimensional sanctuary technology from 12 different species this week, she told President Wilson. All of them want the same thing we wanted, the right to exist without fear. But Wilson was cautious about sharing humanity's greatest secret. The power to escape reality could be used to escape responsibility too. We need to make sure we're helping people build better lives, not just run away from hard problems. General Pike, now leading the Federation's peacekeeping forces, had adopted many human military principles. His troops were trained to protect rather than conquer, to heal rather than harm. The sight of former rebel soldiers working alongside reformed Imperial troops was something no one had thought possible. Lisa, commanding the Lunar Observation Post, monitored communications across the galaxy and marveled at the changes. Where? Once there had been messages of fear and oppression. Now she heard trade negotiations, cultural exchanges, and scientific collaboration. But the most surprising change came from Admiral Drax himself. The former Imperial commander had requested permission to join the Federation fleet, claiming he wanted to spend his remaining years protecting instead of threatening. Many were skeptical, but his actions proved sincere. I spent 30 years serving fear, he told Admiral Kane during his interview. I'd like to spend whatever time I have left serving hope. Crix, the insectoid science officer, had become fascinated by human approaches to problem solving. You think differently than any species I've encountered, he explained to Dr. Maya. Where we see obstacles, you see opportunities. The galaxy's children were growing up in a world their parents could never have imagined. Young humans played with young Delphins, Corvans, and even reformed Imperial species. The barriers that had once seemed absolute were dissolving as natural as friendship. Ambassador Vex, once the Empire's voice of conquest, now worked as a cultural liaison, helping species understand each other. His silver skin had lost its cold gleam, replaced by something warmer. I spent centuries telling others they had no choice, he reflected. The humans taught me that choice is the most powerful force in the universe. The Federation faced challenges, of course. Some worlds struggled with freedom after generations of oppression. Others tested the new alliance's patience with territorial disputes or resource conflicts. But each problem was met with cooperation rather than force, dialogue rather than ultimatums. President Wilson, now elderly but still sharp, often walked through Earth's cities and marveled at how much had changed. Human children learned alien languages in school, while alien students studied human philosophy and engineering. The cultural exchange was transforming everyone involved. Did we make the right choice? He asked Dr. Maya during one of their evening talks. We made the only choice we could live with, she replied. And look what it led to. The stars that had once watched Earth's desperate escape now witnessed something unprecedented. A galaxy learning to live without fear. Trade ships moved freely between systems that had once been enemies. Scientific expeditions explored regions that had been forbidden under Imperial rule. Art and music flowed between species, creating new forms of beauty. As the story concludes, humanity's greatest victory wasn't their escape from the Empire or their advanced technology. It was proving that even in the darkest times, hope could survive and grow. They had locked their gates not to hide from the universe, but to give themselves time to become worthy of returning to it. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and for the first time in millennia, everyone was free to explore them together. Earth had defied the Empire and locked its gates, but in the end, they opened them to welcome the universe home.